This video ended up being more of a vent session than it was supposed to be, but, happens. When it comes to art or any kind of dramatized endeavor, the majority of people only see the end product. We only see the result of years of work being carefully crafted into a digestible way. Loving art and loving the process of making art can be entirely different things. Most people who get into architecture aren't designing their own buildings, they're working on other people's designs. Making it as an artist is never consistent. The entertainment industry as a whole is stressful. And let's be clear, I'm not an expert on any of these things. It's mostly a passing interest as I've tried a few different kinds of production. I've made a few songs, worked on a few student films, and I make videos for this channel now and then. I do these things for fun and can't speak to what it's like doing them for a paycheck. So what's the point of this video? These ideas aren't anything new or special, but I wanted to get them out there in a more organized manner. That's what this channel is for, really. Here's what I spend most of my process working on. For music production, so often do I come up with a few chords or notes that I think sound cool, but then I have no idea what to do next. How on earth do you just find a new set that somehow fits with the ones you just made? And then once you have that, you need to figure out what to add to make it sound better, and then importantly, when to stop adding things. Keep in mind that sometimes it will always sound off until you add some more elements that help tie it together. But what are those elements and where do they come from? This is how it always feels. Every song I'm able to shake out is mystifying because I kept doing things until it sounded like it was enough, whatever that means. Writing lyrics is goofy too because not only do you need to think about what you're saying, but also how the words themselves sound. I found that I typically avoid hard sounds like T's and B's and focus on softer ones instead. And sometimes it just works out and you can put in almost no effort and it fits. If there's a tried and true formula, I haven't found what works for me yet. The fun thing about making art is that it's always subjective. Sometimes. And it's a sometimes that lingers in the back of your head, wondering if you maybe making something that's just objectively bad, or at the very least, incredibly misguided. Anyone who's put even a little bit of time into music production will work late into the night thinking they're making a banger, only to wake up the next morning and realize they've made shit. Every time I send a finished product to someone, I'm acutely aware of all of its flaws. I'm always wondering if there was something more I could have done. And by that point, I'm too intimately familiar with how it sounds that I have no idea what it would sound like to a first-time listener. And that's only working as an individual. Coordinating with other band members and producers trying to make meaningful progress and figuring out scheduling is added on top of everything else. Films are made up of dozens of people, and micro decisions playing out during the entire process. Equipment deciding not to work, weather complications. Maybe the lead actor was out clubbing the night before, so he's going to show up 2 hours late, and it'll be 5 takes until he's woken up enough to give any usable dialogue. And while you're editing, you realize that you're missing a reaction shot for a key character. So what do? Do you get everyone back out to film a 2-second shot? Do you just not have that shot? Don't forget you have a deadline, and everything costs money. But of course, no one knows that when they're watching the end product. They're never going to know all the shit you have to deal with just to get this thing done, and by this point you've been thinking about it and working on it around the clock for weeks, and that knowledge has made you way too biased to know what's good and what isn't. That's not how it is for every project, but it does happen, and even though all that sounds kind of miserable, it's still so fun. I love that under the hood, everything feels like it's held together by toothpaste and prayers. It's so fun to see all the progress and growth of not just your work, but also of yourself. The feeling of, yeah, I made that, is always something to be proud of. In high school, me and 2 friends wrote the school play, and it was a blast. My motivator was thinking about movies that made stupid-ass decisions and trying to see if we could do it better ourselves. Trying to give every character some development, as well as having everything they say have purpose. I wrote a character for myself so I could be part of the rehearsals, and it was one of the highlights of my time in high school. One of the best rehearsals we ever had was when only 4 people showed up, so we each had to play 3 different characters. I ended up playing both romantic leads at the same time, and it was amazing. We often joke that we could have just done that for the final show, and people would have been just entertained. By the time the actual play was performed, it went by too fast. I realized I enjoyed the months of staying late after school way more. That's why it's so much more important to enjoy the work itself rather than what you end up making, because you're going to be spending all your time on the process of making it. And once it's over, the only thing you can really do is move on to making something else, and hopefully the next project is better than the one you just finished. Originally, I just wanted to focus on how people don't always consider the work behind a product, or how they have unrealistic expectations for what it's like to actually work on something, be it artistic or scientific or whatever else. But that was a little unnecessarily negative, and instead I talked about why I love making things end up being more interesting, especially when it's mostly frustration and feeling stuck. But, that's just showbiz, baby.